Hey, happy Tuesday. Happy book review day. Today's book is John Green's Everything is Tuberculosis. And I guess it's fitting that I'm wearing my Pizza Miss shirt today as I review his book. Not something I had planned or thought about, but anyway, this book is, as it sounds, all about tuberculosis. And I remember one of the great things, I guess, about following John Green online is that he talks about his projects and you get to know about the process and kind of see the book come to life. And so he talked about meeting Henry in Sierra Leone. He's a young man that John meets, and the story is in the book. But he's told online a number of times, and how he was struck that tuberculosis was still this thing, because his perception, as I imagine quite a few Americans, is that this is an old timey thing, and you're watching one of those movies that is a period piece, and somebody coughs, and they take the handkerchief away, and there's blood on the handkerchief, and oh, they're going to die. Whether you call it consumption or tuberculosis, like it was, you just kind of knew that. That was almost like a movie trope. But it's a very real disease that continues to kill millions of people. And one of the things John Green really is doing with a bunch of the money that they raise with things like Pizza Mess and Project for Awesome and all those things is to help fight against tuberculosis. So this book really, I think, is kind of an encapsulated version of essentially what he learned and stories kind of along the way. And it goes from the disease and tells you about the history of it, how it goes from being called consumption to tuberculosis, what a tubercle is, and then all these really interesting kind of pop culture connections with tuberculosis. And I'll tell you in a minute about some of those. But one kind of fun structural thing about the book is the front papers are the tuberculosis molecules. I think they're tubercules. And then at the end are the pills, the cure. And so literally, like as you flip through the book, it tells the story of disease to cure. The other kind of fun thing he did was he pre-signed a bunch of books, and he used different color pens. So mine is purple. And then he posted this list on, I think, on Instagram or something. So you could find, if you had a firecracker pen, then it was 70,000 to 80,000. That was the range of books he was signing at the time. So it's kind of fun there. He does lots of fun, clever things like that with his books. So it's no secret I admire him. But anyway, so the actual story with tuberculosis, there's all these things in there, and he's been doing a lot of press. So you've probably seen some of these, where he talks about the history of the cowboy hat, how some cities were literally formed as essentially tuberculosis colonies, and but I think one of my favorite chapters in there is really about the image of the person with tuberculosis, because a lot of poets and writers and artists die early from tuberculosis or consumption. And so he goes in and really looks at the different examples, and how culture saw this, that it was almost it was a desirable look, this kind of wasting away, this skinny, kind of brooding person, that really, is like the stereotypical artist, right? So that chapter was really interesting, going through, like, looking at, like, Keats and God, like everybody who died before the age of 50, basically, that you could think of as an artist, or poet or writer. So I really enjoy it. I mean, I think his writing is very approachable. If the name sounds familiar but you haven't read anything by him in a while, The Fault in Our Stars is probably the most famous of his books. It got turned into a movie. So yes, I am talking about the YA author, or early adult author. But this is nonfiction, and his previous book was nonfiction as well. So I don't know if there's going to be more nonfiction in the future, but he applies the stuff that makes his fiction engaging and interesting to a subject like tuberculosis, and what we can do to help people get, the cure for the disease. There's a quote in there about like, the disease isn't where the cure is, and we need to get the cure where the disease is. Obviously, it's said much better than that in the book, and it seems like a very simple problem, but it's proving to be very complicated. So if you're interested in history, if you're interested in just kind of anything medical related, and if you are looking for something that is an area where you could literally help save lives, everything is tuberculosis will help direct you to some of those. There's lots of resources online, and I would definitely recommend it. It's just in itself, it's an interesting book. So anyway, that's what I'm reading. What are you reading?